Flip
Finally.
the camera. What's happening, Domina? You alright?
I'm well. How are you?
Thanks, fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Sorry about the timing. Because you know what, for a moment, I thought it was 4 hours difference, but it's 5 hours at the moment, isn't it?
It is.
How are you doing? Are you good?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly. No problem. Can you hear me fine?
I can,
If
yes.
I talk too fast, then just let me know because everybody from Canada and America say I talk too fast.
And I talk really slow, so
So
I think we balance each other
we
out.
meet in the middle. We can meet in the middle, huh?
Yes.
How are you doing? You good? So whereabouts are you in EST?
I'm in PST. I am in Los Angeles.
So what's the time there now?
Right now it is, let's see, 1:03.
So I thought you were meant to come on at 4 o'clock, no? Was it always 1 o'clock?
It was always 1 o'clock.
Oh, okay. So it's just me getting my timings mixed up. Sorry.
No worries. Totally
So
get
how
it.
long have you lived? Have you lived all your life?
I have been here, yeah, pretty much all my life.
So what's
Yeah.
your ethnic background? Because you don't seem like American, English American.
I get that a lot, actually. I get that I look either Lebanese or Middle Eastern of some sort.
I was going
Um,
to say kind of like Colombian or Mexican or something.
oh, yeah, yeah. So I have East Indian. My great grandparents on my mom's side were from India, and Spanish, and Mexican on my dad's side of the
But do you know
family.
whereabouts in India they were from?
I don't know. My great grandmother, my mom's grandmother, she was from India, but it was like they moved to Mexico and had my grandmother, and
Oh,
then
okay.
it was this whole thing. So my great grandfather was in the military, so you know how that
Oh,
goes.
so they moved all over the place.
They did. Yes.
Right. Well, thank you for coming on anyway. I want to say that. And anybody that's going to watch, make sure you smash that like button on my profile and on Demina's profile. That's how we all network together and come one. But Demina, do you want to get started? So what is business strategies? Because I ain't got a Scooby.
Yeah, so business strategy is basically like how you turn a business and create systems and structures on the back end to build a scalable type of structure that can get you exponential growth, whether that's you want to be a millionaire type of business, whether you want to be grow a team, like whatever the goal may be, there has to be some sort of foundational structure in order for you to be able to grow that.
Is it all about your branding and your marketing?
It is. That's what I
Is,
primarily
that,
focus on.
is this what you done in your study? Did you study this? Marketing and business strategies?
So I didn't go to school for it, actually. I went to school for psychology, but I studied all of this on my own when I started my own business, and
Wow.
I fell in love with it, and the rest is kind of history.
So what did you do at college?
Psychology.
Then now you just started doing business. So how long have you been a coach?
I have been doing this since, let's see, we're in 2025, so since 2021, actually.
So just after COVID.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always kind of done coaching because I was always that friend where it's like people have problems, let me go to Domina.
Yeah.
But I got certified for life coaching, health coaching, relationship coaching, and career coaching in 2021.
Do you enjoy doing it?
I love it. I think it's the most rewarding position that I've ever held.
I was going to say, it's definitely rewarding, isn't it? Like, if you can give somebody advice to blossom themselves, it's really good. And
Indeed.
it's good karma as well, isn't it?
It is. It very much
So you
is.
get
Yeah.
branding points from upstairs as well, which is brilliant.
Yep.
Okay,
That's where I get my branding from.
family. So where's your family? Are they with you, or do they live in India or Spain or?
My family, they live here. So I have some very distant family still in Mexico. I don't know my mom's side of the family. So they could be in India, they could be, somewhere else. I'm not sure. I just know my mom's sister, and she's here in California as well. And my dad's side of the family, they're also here in California. So any extended family from that point, I don't know.
So, but you still got family in Mexico, but you just don't know who they are.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, so tell me a bit more about business strategies, because I'm learning it as well.
Well, I mean, I guess I can kind of start where I first started learning about business strategy and how I got into branding and everything. Because I didn't really understand business strategy until I understood branding. Because when I first started my business in 2021, I had, like, I think most people, when they start a business, they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah,
And when I was trying to launch my coaching career at that point, and I've done, I want to say, like, 3 or 4 different attempts at different businesses that all failed, but obviously I learned something from each one of those failures. And
and do you
so,
think they failed because of the branding and the strategy you used?
yeah, I do,
Really? So
actually.
that's the common denominator why they
Yep,
failed.
yep,
Okay.
that's the pattern.
Okay. So what was your first business you started?
So the first business that I started was just strictly life coaching. And when I first started, I didn't know the first thing about graphic design. I didn't know the first thing about business strategy. I didn't know anything about branding. I was completely green to everything business. And as someone who has ADHD, I was constantly chasing that shiny object syndrome where everything was like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to make a quick million here, quick million there, not really understanding that there has to be some sort of foundational structure in order for you to be able to make those types of moves and acquire that type of income. So when I first started my coaching career, I was constantly launching programs and launching master classes and doing all the things that I thought was what was necessary because I saw other people doing it and they
Mhm.
were thriving, but I didn't really understand why I wasn't. And so that obviously took a hit to my confidence and that made me feel like I was a failure, and we can go into a whole hoopla of what the mindset piece is with regards to building a business. But for me, that was a constant hit to the ego that made me ultimately say, you know what, I'm going to close the doors to this chapter of my life and I'm going to go back into the workforce and
So
I'm going to
who
use.
coached you? Sorry to trouble you. Sorry to interrupt. Who coached you? Did you coach yourself, or was there somebody there that said, "No, Domina, do it like this, do it like that. Don't
So
watch this, watch this."
in the beginning, when I first started working as a coach and started trying to build that side of my business, I really struggled. So I did hire multiple coaches, and I've probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching
Really?
until I reached a point where no one was able to help me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to stop paying for all of it and I'm going to teach myself everything because I'd rather fail on my accord without spending a dime than failing on somebody else's accord and continuing to put myself in a hole, not really getting what it is that I want. So,
Fair enough.
yeah.
So you're just self-taught,
Everything you see is self-taught. Yeah.
apart from the little bits that they polished up when you went into coaching school or whatever.
Oh, right. Except that.
Okay. So where did you go from there then? So you've had these businesses, you failed. So it's what, 2001 now? No, sorry, 2021.
Mhm.
So you failed your business, and then where did you go?
So after I failed the first business, I went back into the workforce. I was working in corporate America, and I had a pretty thriving career when I was in corporate America. But something in me just kept on nudging me that I just had to work on my own. And so while the time that I was working in corporate, I created another business, which was just graphic design. And that was the second business that I started, which started to create a lot of traction. And I started to build some pretty good momentum. But I realized that wasn't necessarily my calling because I didn't want to trade my time for money anymore. I wanted to be able to create something for myself where I was using my brain to create scalable type of results on a massive scale rather than spending my time, which was very limited, making whatever I was making at that point.
Okay. We got a comment here. It says rule number 1: get rid of negative people and toxic friends.
Exactly.
100%. Well said, Medway. I know who that is. So sorry. I know I can read it out. Otherwise, if it's somebody I didn't know, I would have to go like this. What? Yeah. So that was business number 2. How many have you had altogether?
Sorry?
How many businesses have you started altogether?
So as I was talking through it, I thought it was multiple ones, but it was a total of 3 businesses that I've created.
Okay, so we've had the first one.
Yeah.
Then the graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
Are any of them still going now and live at the moment?
No.
They were dissolved.
I was able to create something with the graphic design. I still kind of do that, but I don't do the work anymore. I have a team to do that for me now.
Okay, so you're still the boss.
I am. Yeah.
And when you worked for the corporate company, was it just simply because you just thought you needed to work for yourself rather than somebody else?
Say that one more time.
When you worked for the corporate company, what was it? Was it the fact that you never wanted to work for somebody else, or because somebody else was the boss, and you were so used to being the boss yourself?
I mean, throughout my working career, I kind of always ended up in higher up positions. I was always in charge of someone, and so I kind of just fell into that identity of I don't want to work under somebody. I might as well just be my own boss and create my own hours and do what I need to do to make that happen. So,
okay, so what was business number 3?
What I do now, which is branding.
And what did you? So what was the biggest thing you learned? So you've had these 2 failed attempts, not failed, but learning curves. And then where did you go from there?
So throughout the time that I was working on building the life coaching business, the graphic design business, the biggest common denominator that I saw that kind of kept on chipping away at my confidence was the fact that I didn't have some sort of structure because clients were coming in. I was getting overwhelmed again because of my background with ADHD. I hated structure. I hated with a passion to create some sort of routine for myself where I was keeping everything organized. So
if you got ADHD, you need to have routine, don't you?
That's you do, but you also hate it.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
Yeah.
But I was constantly struggling with like getting multiple clients and not really being able to manage my tasks properly, and I just felt like a headless chicken running around consistently. So I had to figure out how to make that happen, to gain that level of confidence, to create a foundation for myself, to work now in my business and branding where I could delegate things, where I had more time, where I had the financial resources and clarity more than anything to be able to do what I'm doing now. And so I took a lot of different steps back, doing branding, getting back into a corporate position, and working simultaneously within the two to kind of figure out what is the missing piece between how corporate companies do it, how I'm doing it, what is the disconnect, and how could I learn what's happening over here in the corporate world, blend it into my style for my own company. And so that's where I realized branding is literally everything. That's the foundation. And if you understand how to create that foundation, that's where you're going to really be able to thrive, get your financial resources in line, be able to scale your business, build a team, be able to have a magnetic presence in the online space, and basically everything kind of falls in your lap.
So the corporate company you work for, what did they do? Did they do the same thing? Was it a coaching company?
No, actually. I was a designer, so I did sales for a corporate company, and I was selling remodels for kitchens, and I was designing closets, like the closet units inside or garages and things like that. So I was doing that. And so that was the other thing that kind of led me down the path of understanding how branding works, because if you're selling something as expensive as a kitchen remodel, people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes to be able to do something like that. And if they trust you enough to give you that sort of money, that proved to me that if you have a strong personal brand, people will trust you and they will give you their money. You just have to build that type of rapport, which ultimately falls under branding.
Okay,
So
how did you start getting your clients? Was
it
it like word of
was
mouth, or was it social media, or?
it was a combination of the two, but more than anything, it was my network that was referring clients to me.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So I just returned this word of mouth then.
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic. And then where did you go from there?
So once I was able to understand how to build the systems and structures for my business, I started working on building everything else within my business, as far as like understanding sales and understanding how to put yourself out there within an ethical type of format. What I mean by that is, when people think about someone who's a salesperson, they think someone like a car salesman, very
Yeah.
sleazy, very slimy and grimy and all the things. And it's very difficult to kind of change people's perspective about that sometimes. So because I have a background in psychology, I had to figure out, okay, if I'm selling this for my business, but I don't have the confidence to sell it, then who do I have to become in order to be able to make that a reality where people do trust me and don't see me as a salesperson, but see me as someone who's actually going to help them be able to achieve the type of goals that they're looking to achieve. So that's the biggest thing that I had to work on for the next part of my business, aside from branding, because a lot of people understand branding as being like what fonts you use for your business and what color and the logo, but that's far from the truth, because I had to learn the hard way when I first built my coaching business that it goes much, much deeper than that. It's what kind of experience are you trying to build for your clients when you're not on camera, when you're not engaging on social media, when people are looking at your, let's say, your freebies or your website, or they're downloading some sort of program that they purchased from you, any sort of touch point that they have access to you by. What is the experience that you're giving them? If you're building a luxury brand, then what kind of experience does that mean? Does it mean that they feel like you're taking care of every single thing, where you can kind of anticipate the problems that they're thinking that they need solved, but don't even have the words to put it into it until you come along? Is it that you have an adventurous brand where people come into your world and you have this magnetic presence about you, where when you're telling stories on your social media or your copywriting, that is also kind of helping them picture things in their mind that's taking them on some sort of adventure. So there's brand voice that you have to build when you're building a brand. There's a brand identity, which is the values that you possess within your brand, how you're showing up. There's the brand experience, which is a culmination of all of these things. There's obviously the colors, the logos, and all of that, which are just the aesthetics. But also visually, what does your content look like? You know, do you have a certain theme that you're going for throughout everything that you're creating? When you speak, whether it's speaking face to face with someone, whether it's speaking online, whether it's something written, what is the experience that people are understanding of the person that you are when it comes
I
to
was just about to touch on that. So when you talk to a client, or when do you go into the organization and talk to them in like a boardroom, or is it all done over the phone, or emails, or video call?
It depends. I mean, if I'm working privately with the client on their branding, then it'll be video calls. I've worked with a couple of clients in person, but you know, it's kind of all over the place, whether it's phone call, whether it's video chat, whether it's Zoom, whether it's in person. email. It just
So it's a
depends on their.
mixture of all.
Mhm.
It's a mixture of all. So you mix it up.
Yeah, just depending on their
And
preference.
do you ever like go into companies to do training, to train people on branding?
I haven't quite yet, because the thing about what I do that's kind of unique is that I like to work primarily with small indie brands, which is just small businesses, rather than large corporations, because large corporations, they have their way of doing things, and it's kind of like tapping into the pharmaceutical companies where they have their own protocols and they want things done in a certain way, and it just clashes with me because I believe in branding in an ethical fashion rather than in a manipulative fashion. And that's the big problem with a lot of big corporations, is the fact that they manipulate people using psychology because they have these huge massive teams that they can invest into that small businesses can't. So I decided to bring that type of structure from an ethical standpoint into small businesses so they can create the
Yeah.
same type of leverage without all of the financial income that they lack from
And with
corporate
large
America.
organizations, obviously there's a chain of command as well, isn't there? So if you want something done or you want to give your point of view, it has to go through about 20 people before it gets to the top until you get something signed off.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
in a way, it's better if you just talk to Johnny Big Bananas or talk to the big boss directly and say, look, I want to do it this way, rather than him having to ask another 6 people.
Right. Yep. So if
Okay,
I
so
do work with bigger companies, then it's going to be directly with the CEOs of the company.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise you don't talk to no Mickey Mouse person.
No, I'm
Level,
talking to
man.
the executive people who are the decision makers only.
What are they to talk to contact to keep in contact with? Are they okay? Or do you have to like go for the PA, the secretary, the person sitting next to them, the person sitting next to them?
No, it's never like that. It's
Well, you must have
I
figured it out
position
by now,
myself.
huh?
Yeah, I position myself in a way where that's who I'm talking to. If you want to work with me, I'm very strong in my boundaries where I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to go through Johnny, Mary, and Joe in order to get to Martha. I
Yeah,
just don't do that.
perfect. So you figured it out. That's your psychology coming into effect, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so where do you go from now? So now that you've gained the client's trust, so you're in there now. So what do you do now?
It really depends on where they're at in their business. I mean, when a lot of companies come to me or business owners come to me, they're usually struggling with their business being at a plateau where they're not really getting a lot of traction. They're not getting a lot of, in one particular instance with a client, they were losing a lot of sales. And so it depends on what their particular need is. I'll give you the example of the client that was losing sales as soon as they were purchasing. So in that particular instance with this client, what I did was I looked at the overall structure of the business to figure out where are the weak points of the business that is keeping them from keeping those clients happy, so that way they can continue making more sales and it starts building this level of trust. Because like I said, one of my core values in my business is trust, transparency, and honesty. So I make sure that everything that I do has those types of values within them. So what I saw with this particular company was that when people would go online and purchase something from their website, that was it. They wouldn't hear anything until their product was ready to be fulfilled, which was 10, 14, 16 weeks later. So they didn't know if they just got an order that someone took their money from and then that was it. They just kind of
Yeah,
disappeared. So I saw that and I was like, okay, we have to create some sort of transparency here. So I created an email sequence for them. So it would build the level of customer service experience that would say whenever the order would go from order placed all the way to order fulfilled, there's a level of storytelling, if you will, that's letting them know
yeah,
this is what's happening each step of the way within your business, excuse me, within your product development until it's complete. and then ready to be shipped. So if you kind of want to think about it, one company that does a really good job in this is Domino's. I don't know if you have Domino's out there. It's a pizza
The pizza
place.
place, yeah.
Yeah, so they have this thing called a pizza tracker. So when you place an order, you see a tracker on your screen that says this is what
The blue and red thing, yeah.
yeah, and so it lets you know like your order's placed, your order's being prepared, so on and so forth. So using that type of experience, I brought that to their company. And so you'll see that exactly, boosts. So the small details have a huge impact. So the more that you're able to create that sort of transparency, people love that. And that's all about experience. And so when people have that type of experience, people in that industry for that particular client, they're not doing these types of things. So automatically you're standing out compared to somebody else. So if someone were to talk to another buddy that had the same product that they purchased from a different company, they're like, oh yeah, this was my experience with them. Already there's going to be a differentiation. And that's what I do in my business, is how do I differentiate you by looking at your overall business structure to make sure that I can make you stand out in a saturated market, which I don't believe that there's any such thing as a saturated market. People just don't know that where those small details need to be placed and organized to make them really stand out, because it's really not hard to stand out in this type of economy anymore.
So you're like you like a one-man team? Do you have people working for you, or are you just by yourself?
So I do have people working for me, just like when it comes to strategy, when it comes to creative direction. So I am the key person when it comes to that. But when it comes to like graphic design, when it comes to all of the work per se, I don't do any of that anymore. I have people who do that for me.
Okay, so if a client's got a problem, you're the person that goes back to the site and goes to see them. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
What
do you do if there is a problem?
Say that again.
What do you do if there is a problem?
I solve it. I figure out what is necessary depending on what the issue is, and I look to create some sort of solution, whether it's systemic, meaning that if there's some sort of automation because there's a lot of manual labor that's going into it, I solve the problem and I have my team work on that. Whether it's a branding problem, a marketing problem, like I look at that and build some sort of structure and have people build it for them. Or if the company wants to do it themselves with their team, I'll give them the strategy so that way they can implement it themselves.
And what's the most common problem? Is it normally like branding?
Yes, I would say so, because what I've noticed working with small companies from 0 to 100,000 up to multi-million-dollar companies doing this, I've recognized that the biggest thing is branding. Whether it's internal branding, which a lot of people don't talk about, is how do you build an internal structure where your people are being taken care of and they love working for the company because you're treating them as if, you're treating them as if they're part of the company, making them act as if it's their company that they're working for, then creating an ecosystem internally that is helping to build the business at a much quicker rate because everyone is on the same page. So that's the first problem that I see. People don't know how to hire the right people, and when they do hire the right people, they don't know how to keep the right people. So that's an internal branding problem. Externally, they don't know how to create a sort of experience for their customer that is customer centric, that is allowing them to, like I said, stand out in the market, whether it's their visuals are completely off, whether it's the colors, because color psychology is a thing. You have to understand where your experience in the customer side of things is lacking and then fix that.
And so you're basically the one-man show. So customer service, branding manager, you're everything.
No, I mean, I'm just the person that
you said you got a team that does graphic designing and everything.
Yeah.
But if there's an issue, if there's a problem, obviously your link is the CEO of the company, so the CEO is going to first give you a call or give you a shout.
Yeah, exactly.
And how often do you have to go to site or is it all done online on Zoom or?
I try to avoid going in person as much as possible, because the thing about companies that try to have you go in person, especially when you're working so intimately with them, is that they want it. It can become a very slippery slope. So a hard boundary for me is to try as much as possible to do everything online, because it can be done much faster than being in a boardroom and trying to iron everything out, because then they'll start going into the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
and it's like, let's just stick to what we have to do, knock it out, and move on.
Excellent. And have you ever been abroad to do it? So, or one side of America to the other side, or is it always kind of like on your side of the town, your side of town? So, where
Um,
did you say you were? You know, Los Angeles. You're from, ain't you?
yes. So I've worked throughout the US. I have multiple clients throughout the US. Um, I have not yet worked like outside of the US. So that's something that I'm actively working on expanding.
So you haven't been to Mexico yet.
Not yet, no. I do
At
speak
all.
Spanish though, so I would like to get a Spanish speaking client from Mexico and work with
Yeah.
them.
I'm sure it will happen soon.
Yeah,
And you need to come to the UK as
there
well. Come and do
you
some
go.
branding over here. Tell these how to
Yes,
do it.
spread the word.
Yeah.
Spread the word.
Tell them how to do it properly. So what's your company actually called? Have you got a company name yet?
Yeah. My brand is called Riot Branding.
The right with a W or R?
Uh, RIOT Branding.
Okay. Well, let me get myself in order.
Hmm.
You covered that. You covered that. Okay. What's this idea that personal branding should be authentic, but not the same branding in a strategic strategy? How do you balance shaping a brand's image? Sorry. How do you balance shaping a brand's image?
How do you shape building a brand image?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that I always talk about religiously is, what are your core values? Because everything is going to be based off of that. So if you're building a business yourself, or you're working for a business and you're trying to scale it, you have to understand, what do you stand for? Because
Hmm.
if you stand for, let's say, community, and you stand for giving back, and you stand for effective communication and team building, and let's say trust, but nothing of what you do has those values incorporated into it. Like, you say you give back in the company, but then you're not doing anything to give back to the community. You talk about teamwork, but you're not doing anything to help build your team or to incentivize your team. So you have to be able to build that sort of foundation and understand, what is it that you need in order to build that type of structure, because that becomes your brand reputation. People are going to experience your brand and recognize, oh man, like, she means,
Yeah.
she backs her community. Like, I see her in the community. I see her doing X, Y, and Z, or he, or whatever. And so that speaks much louder than anything else than that what you'll do. I mean, you could have everything perfect, and you could have the branding correct with colors and graphics and all the things, and pour money into your business. But if you're not true to your word, then what do you really stand
What's the
for?
point then? Yeah, you're right. Have you ever been to a company where the communication within that company, so the client's communication is poor?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My entire working career when I was working for corporate companies was all that.
So somebody would say yes, and then going back to what I was saying earlier on the chain of command. So somebody would say yes, and then the following person would say no, I didn't agree to that, and then
Mhm.
kind of like delays things.
Yeah. And
Okay.
these are massive corporations that are doing that. And that's why part of my mission is to break that apart, because I don't believe in that.
Mhm. That's why you stick to like medium-sized companies or small-sized companies.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it's better that way, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, you've worked with businesses that have struggled to get people to care about the brand. What's the biggest mistake you see from a psychological issue, from a psychological place behind an audience of die-hard fans? Did you understand that? Because I didn't. You've worked with
Yeah,
businesses that struggle
let's
to
try that
get
one more
people to.
time.
You've worked with businesses that struggle to get people to care about their brand. What's the biggest mistake you see, and what's the psychology behind it? The audience for die-hard fans.
So basically, your question is, what is the psychology for building what I call a cult-like following?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Uh, so the psychology behind that is, again, I keep on going back to this and I will continue to go back to this, is your values. Number one, that's what I would say is the first thing. To build a cult-like following, you have to stand for something, because people want to feel like they're a part of something. Any sort of movement that you can think of, why do people join it? Like, name anything, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's the LGBTQ community, whether it's, what's this, giving back to like second chances for ex-cons,
Yeah.
like there's movements for that. I mean, why do people go into those? Why do they back them? Because they stand for something. And so when you're able to build something that is based off of values, people want to be part of that. They want to feel like they're a part of it, and they become a part of that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to constantly be evolving and showing why it is that you're different compared to the rest. So what I mean by that is when you're able to recognize that there's a lack of something in the market, whether it's, let's say you're building off-road parts for people, and you recognize that all of the stuff out there is janky, meaning it's not built in a very quality fashion. So you build something that is quality like, that is something that stands out. People are going to recognize that. They're going to talk about it. So the fact that you're getting people to talk about your product or your service, that is another part to building that cult-like following, where people recognize this is different. I like this, and this is why. So that's where the word of mouth starts to happen. And then obviously, because you're backing that with values, now you have a core foundation for why people should be a part of your world.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you build that type of community and you're bringing them into your world, meaning like with a company, you give shout outs to people, because they sent you pictures of their finished product, or the screenshots of the conversation letting them know the praises that you gave them. Like, people like that. They like to feel like you care about them. And so that's the other piece. You build that sort of community, showing them like, I appreciate you regardless of whatever, even though I've never met you perhaps in person, or maybe I have, I still appreciate you, and here's my token of appreciation. So this type of community building is the third piece that I would say is that psychological element that is going to have people say, this is who I want to give my business to. This is who I want to back. When I think about businesses in this industry, this is who comes out of my mouth. And so that's what really starts to really build the foundational piece to build that cult-like following. And I could go much, much deeper into that, but I mean, we'll spend days and weeks talking about that if I continue going deeper. So
your psychology degree has been coming hand in hand with this, hasn't it? Big time.
my psychology experience, because I've studied psychology for a very long time outside of school and continue to, has been extremely helpful. Yes.
And did you ever use it for anything else, work-wise? Psychology.
Sales, when I was in corporate.
So just reading the person's mind.
Pretty much. much. Yeah. Because I mean, you understand how to read body
Yeah,
language,
of
you
course.
understand how to
Yeah.
read verbal cues, you understand tonality, you understand like all of these different elements. So when you understand that, it's not hard to influence people.
And what type of sales did you do? Was it like on the phone or was it going into the place?
I did in
So was it,
person consultations.
you were like over here? We called that. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now. But so rather than just talking on the phone to somebody like cold calling
Mhm.
or on the net or sending them an email and chasing it up, you would actually go into the building themselves, arrange an appointment with the person that's in charge, and then go and do it. And also, we also want to see more businesses that support good employees growth, no corporate profit over people's strategies. Do you want to answer that?
I think it was more of a statement. And
Okay,
yes,
fair enough.
I definitely believe in people for profit. Hands down, always will be. I think there was a question up here. I'm trying to find it.
It's for the same person, I think. Consistency to in quality and care matters to us. Caring quality customers. Is that the
Yeah.
one you're talking about?
No, there was another one. It was by my girl Lisa. Let me see.
Or how do you deal with?
Trusting others, delegating for your business instead of doing it all yourself. That feels very challenging for me. So this one's a heavy one because I really struggled with this one. But the biggest thing that I realized when it came to this and why I really struggled with trusting people is because I didn't trust myself. That was the biggest thing that a lot of people don't really realize. And when I worked with those multi-million dollar company, they struggled with the same thing. Like, how do you keep people good help? Essentially, it's you learn to trust yourself. You learn to have discernment to say, I trust this person because I understand I could read the red flags and I could also see the green flags. And so you have to really be able to understand a person by understanding yourself first to say, what do I stand for and what do I not stand for? Meaning, what are your boundaries when it comes to your business relationships and personal relationships and individual relationships with self? Because when you don't understand those boundaries, you will be walked all over. You will have people that don't understand what you're aiming for. And when you understand what your boundaries are, you understand what you stand for, you make business decisions based off of your values. When you're hiring people, especially, then at that point, that's when you start recognizing that there's actually people out there that actually want to help you, but you have to kind of give them the time of day. So you also have to communicate effectively to let them know what is expected of them and letting them know they're not in charge, you are.
You are,
And
yeah.
so when you understand that dynamic, then you can effectively communicate that and therefore build a really strong relationship with that person or team. Thanks for asking that, Lisa.
Yeah, great question. Okay, so you've been going on about navigating fear, uncertainty in your own journey. How do you push through when resistance hits? When resistance hits, especially stepping into other bigger opportunities. Sorry, my tablets is all going all over the place. Did you understand that?
One more time, please.
You've been open about navigating fear and uncertainty in your own journey. How do you push through resistance,
Oh,
especially when stepping into bigger opportunities?
pushing through resistance. Um, I really had to understand my why I was doing what I'm doing. Because my why is the reason why I get up in the morning. It's the reason why I make the decisions that I make in my day-to-day life. It's the reason why I live the way that I live and why I'm building what I'm building. Because if I didn't have that why, if I woke up tired this morning, I probably would tell you, hey, Biggie, let's cancel the interview because
Yeah.
I'm feeling tired. If I was tired, then I probably wouldn't send that email to a client letting them know that I wanted to work with them. So because my mission is to bring more ethics back into business, putting people over profit, that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what makes me say, I want to make this world a better place. When I'm gone from this earth, I made a difference. So I'm not going to stop until I make that a reality. And whether I get to see it or not, I know that I did my part to do that. So that's what
Fantastic answer.
pushes me every single day.
Okay, with all the noise in the digital space, where do you see personal cult and where do you see personal and cult branding evolving in the next few years? Where will it thrive?
In the next few years, I see cult branding being, I think that time is now, to be honest with you. I think that people are looking for something that they believe in. In a world where you never know what's going to happen next, people want to have that sort of hope and belief that there's something out there that's worth fighting for, worth being a part of. And so a lot of these corporations, people are now very keen to the fact that they're putting people over profit. Profit over people. And so they're kind of tired of it. And so they're looking for something and they're out there actively searching for it. So if people aren't understanding this, that run a business, then they're doing it wrong. And they need to understand that they need to shift their mindset from putting profit over people and instead shifting that perspective by putting people over profit.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the time? Finally, so what's next for you now?
Next for me now, well, the sky's the limit. There's really nothing that I'm not actively going after. But what I will say on a personal level is that my next goal is to get on the TEDx stage. So that's what I'm actively pursuing right now.
And how can people get a hold of you? What's your social media hooks or your handles?
So to connect with me, my social media handles for Threads, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, it's all at dominarose.x. And then my website, if they want to check out my work, is fearlessxfemme, FEMME.com.
Do you want to type it down in the comments?
Sure.
This is your company website?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Let me know if that came through, because I can't see it on my end.
Fearless X, is it Femme or Femi? Fem, okay. Perfect. That's how people can get hold of you.
Yes.
Watching this,
and that
said wrong. I'm getting to what? To do workouts. Keep it going, man.
I will be joining you pretty soon at the gym. So
good stuff. So when are you going to come to the UK, or when are you going to start doing things more foreign?
Whenever I'm invited, let's figure it out.
We do something, definitely, because there's lots of exhibitions that happen in the UK here, like in big. So it'd be great if you come down to one.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not a marketing person.
Yeah, if I can do a TEDx out there, that'd be fantastic.
What is a TEDx?
A
I've
TEDx,
heard it so much.
It's basically a platform for speakers who are they're experts in their trade or their niche, who go on and talk. I forget if it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes, but they talk about their particular subject that they're an expert on for, the global audience.
And have you ever done it before?
I have not done TEDx. I've done public speaking on different platforms, but not for TEDx quite yet.
So so when you do this TEDx, what's the goal of it. So people will say to you afterwards, so you've done your little 10-minute speech. So somebody will come up to you and say, give me your details, or can I have your website? Stuff like that.
That's a bonus to it. My mission for being on stage is to bring more awareness to putting cult brands on the map by strategizing businesses by putting people over profit.
So TEDx is really like you got your sales pitch there, and you're selling yourself or your brand, ain't you?
Sorry, my dogs. I don't know if you can hear them or not.
Yeah. I thought it was a police siren.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah. So okay, I'm gonna ask you one more thing before you go. Your ADHD. How have you like tackled that? Just for a bit of awareness.
Yeah. So I made a decision, honestly, that if I want to be who I want to be as the best version of myself, I had to make a decision to get over myself and get out of my comfort zone to start creating the structures, the routines, the disciplines, all of that in order for me to have my time back. Because having ADHD, I constantly felt like I was living in chaos. I had so many things on my laundry list that were constantly growing. I always felt super tired because I'd look at that list and I'm like, screw this, I'm over it. I'm just going to take a nap. And I got tired of it because that's not going to take me to where I want to go. So
Were you not
overactive,
because I know there's different ADHDs, isn't there?
yeah.
Okay.
So I would get into analysis paralysis, another ambulance, sorry. So I would get very much in my head about how much I had to do, and I felt so chaotic consistently. So I got rid of all of the distractions. I don't really watch TV anymore. I mean, every so often I'll watch it with my partner. But I don't go on social media. If I do, it's very strategic. Everything that I do is strategic. It's not for simple pleasures or instant gratification. There's a purpose for why I'm doing everything that I'm doing. Even when I watch TV, I'm watching things with intention because I'm planning on learning something from whatever it is that I'm watching. And so once I started taking away all of those distractions from my focus, that's when I started getting very clear on what it was that I needed to do in order to start creating this type of strategy and structures and routines in my life, so that way I can keep my ADHD in control.
So it's all about, like we said at the start, getting rid of the negativity.
The distractions. Everything is a distraction. Yeah. I mean, even choosing your outfits every single day is a distraction. Yeah. So that's why I just wear black, because, I mean, you can't go wrong with black.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. That's it. Okay, Domina, I want to say a huge thank you. You did nominate somebody. You nominated B More, didn't you? Mm-hmm. So I've been in touch with him. Top guy. I will carry on being in touch with him. So feel free to come in whenever you want. You could
thank you so much.
Pass through whenever you want. And if you need anything reposted, just tag me in it. I'm happy to repost your material because you've been a fantastic guest. So
thank you so much.
Thank you very much again, and you take care and all the best.
Thanks. Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye.